Let's see how we can take a stateful function component and turn it into a stateful class component. Originally, I wanted to start this lesson off with a challenge, but I realized there were a couple things that we hadn't yet talked about. So for now, I'm just going to get us started. First, I need to change my function to a class, and we will extend, so we'll say extends react.component. I'm going to ignore the state hook and this custom function here, and instead put my return inside of a render. So we'll have a render method, and we'll move our UI inside of that render. Okay, we're still going to be broken. Now when we're creating classes, instead of actually putting a function keyword in here, I can specify a class method by just putting the name of the class method followed by parentheses and the curly braces. However, when I do that, I need to make sure that, just like we saw with props, I reference my internal method with the this keyword. So I have this dot toggle go out instead of just toggle go out. And that brings us to how we can initialize some state inside of a class component. Unlike in a function component that uses the useState hook and allows us to create basically any kind of state we want, in this case it's a string, it could be a number, a boolean, or something more complex like an object or an array. Instead, in a class component, state will always be an object, and every piece of data that we want to save will be a property on that object. Not only that, but the object needs to be called state. Now, there's actually two different syntaxes that I can use for state in React. I'm going to show you first the more simple version that's a relatively new addition to classes in JavaScript, and that is to use something called a class field. For a class field, just like we have with our method where I can just declare the method without any other keywords, I can just say state equals an object. And then, like I mentioned, we add properties to that object like go out. So I would say go out has a value of yes. I'm going to comment out this line so that it's not giving us the syntax error. And now I need to fix my reference to go out because it's no longer a variable called go out, but instead is nested inside of this state object. Not only that, but because this is a class, I can only reference state if I'm using the this keyword. So instead of go out down here, I need to say this dot state dot go out. And that should give me correct access to my state object here. Other parts of this are still broken, but let me hit save and we should see that this is displaying the way that we would expect. Okay, now we have state set up in our class component, but the thing that's still broken is we are no longer going to be using this state setter function set go out. And so our program is broken because we're still referencing that function. So in the next lesson, we're going to learn about how we can update or change state in a class component.